Okay, so we've got the next steps going here. We've got this is all installed with the motor. They sent me the wrong screws here. I had to steal the screws from a different machine that I've got, a laser engraver that just happened to have 15 millimeter M6 nuts. They accidentally sent me the ones for the NEMA 23 motors on this one. Got all the correct ones on the other motors, but just that one. So anyway, I'll replace those later. I'm lucky that I happen to have something around. So anyway, what I've done so far now is cable track has gone down. So you just attach these brackets onto the underside of the extrusion. Just a couple of bolts under there. They come out and they hold the cable track. And then the cable track bolts into here. And what's going to happen now is this is going to fold in and attach down on the bottom underneath here. The cable will go all through here, and that'll let it come back to the control box, which is over there. This is the plug and play control box. Everything's wired by CNC rotor parts inside. I've got a bunch of cable here. I'll just move. I'll show you the inside of it. It's really quite well set up. There's a nice big start switch and motor enable disable. But you open it up. Everything is nicely wired in there. I don't know if you can see particularly well. Hopefully you can. But anyway, yeah, everything's professionally wired and the setup's quite nice. You have to just install some hanging brackets from the inside. So that's the only reason you actually need to open it up. You otherwise don't need to open it up. But you install those hanging brackets. Those hanging brackets will come off of. There's some the electronics mounting bar there. I've put some T-nuts in there with a set screw, and that'll hang from there. I've already had it hanging on there, but the attachments are, the interesting thing is the attachments are actually on the bottom, which I'm not so sure that's a great idea because cables can get kicked and things like that. If we're on the back, I think it would be better, but hey, I'm just the amateur here. So anyway, I'm gonna plug everything in before I actually mount the thing. But I'm just attaching the cable track, but I'm not completing the link to the gantry here yet. So I haven't yet mounted this, and I suggest you don't right now, because otherwise what I'm going to do is I'm going to route the cables all through here, and as you can see, it's like a tunnel, right? So in the instructions it says to use a screwdriver to take off each of these bars and run your wires through, but if you do that, then you got to put them all back on again. So I'm just gonna hold it like this. I'm gonna thread the cables all the way along while it's straight before I mount it. Then I'll mount it afterwards, because that just seems a lot more logical to me. We'll see how it works out. The only thing I would say is I did notice that my cable here is mounted on the front. On retrospect, I probably would reverse that, but I'm sure as heck not going to do it now because everything is tensioned up, and so that shouldn't be any problem, of course. But nothing will get in the way of this. But I just thought that having it on the back might have been smarter. They don't really tell you one way or the other in the instructions, so I guess it's dealer's choice what you decide to do. Anyway. The other thing they don't tell you in the instructions is, you'll see on the far side there, they tell you to put on this end plate and all these screws and tighten them up fully on that end, leaving this end to be able to get things in and through. However, they never tell you to actually put them back on again, including the bolts for underneath here and here that holds this side of the gantry on. So important to remember to actually do that. One of the things I also found was that the top of this bracket has got 4 bolts, the bottom has 3. I actually had this plate reversed. I had the 3 on the top, so I actually had to take it off and reverse it, is one of the things I had to do. So just a couple of things that don't appear in the instructions. Just some, I mean, they got a 200 and some odd page instruction manual. You can't everything can't be perfect. Hopefully this triggers them to recognize that though, and in the future they can maybe add those things in. So later on, what I'm going to have to do, just to, if you remember, is I'm going to have to replace this linear bearing. So good news is, it doesn't look like I'll have to do much. All I'll have to do is pull the gantry down to the very far end down there, have this close to the end, unbolt these 4 bolts and slide this out, take the new one, slide it in, rebolt it, and that should be all I need to do, I'm hoping, because everything here seems to be mounted fairly straightforwardly, with no major complications. So I might have to retension things, I'm not sure, I don't think so, but it looks like it'll be fairly straightforward. Okay. Now I'm going to connect my cables and run them on both the y-axis, and there is another one there that I'm going to do that'll go along here. I got to mount it to this piece right here. Got to mount it to that piece, and then it'll run along the cable track so that I can have my cable management done properly. Okay, I'll show you what it looks like later.